I always start the year so optimistic about all the books I'm gonna read from my 400 plus book backlog. Like all resolutions, life gets in the way. But this year, I'm doing something different. I'm building a realistic 26 book TBR. That's 2 books every month, 1 every 2 weeks. That feels achievable. That feels manageable. It doesn't feel overwhelming. So that's what we're going to do in this video today. We're going to be building the 26 book TBR for 2026. These are books that I'm genuinely excited for. Some series catch-ups, a few classics, and some books that I've had my eye on that will release in 2026. So if you're a busy reader that wants a TBR that feels like a game plan, not a guilt trip, then you're in the right place. Stick around, you might just find your next favorite book. Welcome to Blackthorn Books. I'm Dallin R, and if you're a Stormlight fan, then you know why my friends call me the Blackthorn. Okay, 2026 TBR. Here's how this is going to work. I've broken it down into some categories. Series I need to finish, classics, some golden oldies that I've been meaning to get to, 2026 releases that I cannot wait for, and a few palate cleansers. Then I went ahead and spaced these out throughout the year. So we're going to go over this month by month, and we're going to plan out 2026. Also, I'll throw a few maybes into the list in case I DNF something, or something's just not holding my attention, or maybe I just want a spontaneous read, because rigid TBRs are boring and overrated. But before we get into the list, I want to address something that's been bothering me lately. There's this growing trend on BookTube and BookTok where people who read 120, 150, 200 plus books a year act like it's just a matter of making time. And look, I'm not here to shame anybody's reading speed. If you read 200 books a year, that's awesome. Good for you. I'm glad that you're reading. But let's be real, the advice of just make time, it's just so disingenuous. It's as if they're saying to those of us who only read 20 and 30 books a year,
you're just not trying hard enough.
But look, I work full time. I have kids. I have a spouse. I have other hobbies that I'm interested in besides reading. And those responsibilities don't disappear just because I want to read more. What they're really saying is skip out on time with your kids, give up on your other hobbies, don't go to the gym, sacrifice sleep, don't spend time with your partner, read instead of living. And you know what? It's not a trade-off that I'm willing to make. Let's be clear, reading 26 books in a year is not failing. It's not settling. It's choosing to read at a pace that doesn't sacrifice the rest of your life. Because here's the thing, reading is supposed to enhance your life, not replace it. So if you're someone who reads 15, 20, 30 books a year while juggling a full life, you're not going too slow. You're reading intentionally. And that matters way more than hitting some arbitrary number. But if you are wanting to read more than 26 books in a year, then yeah, there are some things you can do. Take a look at your schedule. And yes, maybe you can cut out some TV time. Maybe you can stop playing video games so much. Maybe you can listen to an audiobook while you're driving to and from work or while you go to the gym. That's up to you, but I promise you, you are not failing or reading too slow if you're not hitting those numbers. Rant over. Let's build this TBR. All right, so in January, I wanted to start with some series catch-ups. I'm kicking off 2026 with some more Dungeon Crawler Carl. So I will be reading books 4 and 5, and if you haven't heard of this series, I would say you were lying. It's exploded in popularity, and for good reason. Imagine if somebody took a reality TV show, threw it into a deadly dungeon, and then broadcasted it for the entire universe to consume, and then made it genuinely laugh out loud funny and heartbreaking, all at the same time. Carl and his cat Donut and their pet raptor Mongo are just trying to survive this mega dungeon. It's got dark humor, surprisingly deep emotional beats, and some of the most creative dungeon designs I have ever seen. And this is coming from someone who's played Dungeons and Dragons for the last decade. Books 4 and 5, the Gate of the Feral Gods and the Butcher's Masquerade, I've heard are where things really intensify and ratchet up and get really wild. And I cannot wait to binge these back to back in January. I felt like 3 was probably the weakest in the series so far. The train system was just a little bit confusing, and I know there's the disclaimer at the beginning to just ignore it and just move on with it, but it was kind of distracting. So for me, it's really good to know that it just kind of ratchets up from there. All right, in February, I'm going to be finishing the original Riftwar saga by Raymond E. Feist. This is classic 80s fantasy, the kind of stuff that defined the genre. We're talking about chosen ones, epic battles between good and evil, rifts between worlds, and that old school fantasy comfort feeling. I love reading some of the classics of the genre, both for my own edification and to just see how things have kind of changed and evolved over time. It's good to see the roots that defined the series that I love today. I've already read Magician Apprentice and Magician Master, so I will be closing out the original trilogy of the Riftwar. I guess it's a quadrilogy because the first book is technically 2, but I'll be closing that out with Silverthorn and A Darkness at Seathanon. Or perhaps it's Sethanon. Seathanon sounds cooler to me, so that's how I'm going to pronounce it. If I enjoy these 2 books, like I enjoyed Magician, then I will definitely continue the larger Riftwar saga in the future. Then in March, I'm going back to Carl and Donut with books 6 and 7, The Eye of the Bedlam Bride and The Inevitable Ruin. A 1-month break for me will be enough. I will have to know what happens next. The beauty of spacing these out is that I won't get burned out from just doing them back to back to back to back, but having only 1 month between, I also won't lose the thread of the story. I'm the type of reader, and maybe you are too, that can only do about 3 of the same series before I need a good palate cleanser. Not because the story is bad or anything, just for my own enjoyment. I'm not rushing to finish anything. I like to take my time and really enjoy a series. Maybe you can relate. So this 1-month break will be perfect for me. And April brings us to the Age of Madness trilogy. I'll be reading books 1 and 2, which is A Little Hatred and The Trouble with Peace. This is the sequel series to the First Law trilogy. If you've read Abercrombie, you know what you're getting. Morally gray characters, brutal violence, dark humor, insanely good character dialogue. I absolutely loved the First Law trilogy, and I can't wait to dive back into this world. I've been told by a few folks that I trust that the Age of Madness trilogy is even better than the First Law trilogy, which seems impossible to me, so I can't wait to dive into this. I find it really hard to believe, but instead of doubting it, I'm just going to dive in and find out for myself. This trilogy jumps forward a generation, and it deals with stuff like industrialization, revolution, and of course the way that power corrupts. I am so ready for this. In May, I will be finishing the Age of Madness trilogy with the final book, The Wisdom of Crowds. Because of how much I love Abercrombie's writing, I'm going to need a while to digest after this, and I think I'll want to talk about this series in depth. So I expect I'll make like a deeper review of this trilogy once I finish it. Also, I think after tackling another trilogy in this year, I'll want a palate cleanser at this point, and I'm planning on reading The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. This is a murder mystery in a fantastical world. I've been told it's like Sherlock Holmes, but with a fantasy flair. I've heard nothing but great things. It's supposed to be sharp and clever and just a totally different vibe from Abercrombie. And after reading so much grimdark, I think I'm gonna welcome that change of pace. But before we dive into the rest of the TBR, I'll be checking in on this monthly. I will be posting regular TBR updates. If you didn't realize it yet, here at Blackthorn Books, I'm all about realistic reading. I'm not cranking out 200 books a year. This channel is for readers who can carve out the time to read when they can, and they want that time to count. If that's you, go ahead and click the subscribe button so we can hang out more. All right, let's keep building this TBR. Rolling into June. June is where I will kick off Sci-Fi Summer, or so I'm dubbing it. And I'll be doing it with none other than Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky. I've heard nothing but the best for this one. It's one of those books that everyone raves about. It's got intelligent spiders. Apparently it's one of the most unique concepts in sci-fi in recent years. It's giving me vibes of the Rachni from Mass Effect, which is like one of my favorite games of all time, so of course I need to check this out. Then I'll be jumping into a classic, one that I've wanted to read for a long time, and that is Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick. This is the book that inspired the Blade Runner movies, and I've always wanted to check it out. It's one of those bucket list books that I've had for forever. It's super short, so I hope I can just knock it off really quick, and if I do, I think I'm going to try and also fit in another book here, which is not sci-fi, but this was a gift to me, so I'm sort of honor bound to read it. And that is Calabasas by R.F. Kuang. I got this really awesome version as a gift, so I really want to make sure I can squeeze this into 2026. I feel like this will be a good time to do it. Due to the fact that that book is so short, I think I'll be able to squeeze this in. 3 standalone books, completely different vibes, just perfect summer reading. Then July will continue sci-fi summer. And it also serves as a prep month for me. Any guesses as to why? Well, if you guessed Red God, the final Red Rising book by Pierce Brown, then you'd be right. It's rumored to drop summer 2026. And so I want to read books 5 and 6 before that comes out. Dark Age and Lightbringer, this is where I left off in the series. I want these fresh in my mind before I read Red God, the conclusion. If you didn't know, this is serious space opera meets Roman Empire meets Hunger Games in a way. It's absolutely brutal and epic. If you haven't read Red Rising yet, what are you even doing? Read it. This series absolutely blew up the internet. It's so good and brutal. I absolutely loved Golden Sun and Morning Star, and I stopped after Iron Gold, not because it was bad, it's just it kind of fell in my TBR. I just had other things I wanted to squeeze in there. And in fact, I actually quite enjoyed Iron Gold, the fact that it kind of opened up and went to multi first person POV. I liked the time jump. I liked the new characters that we got, but just life got in the way, and I plan to get back to it here in 2026, right before Red God. So that means an assumption for August that Red God will come out. I'm putting it slated in for August. Now, obviously, once we get an official date, that may change and I'll have to update the TBR, so make sure you're subscribed. Click that notification bell so you'll get a notification when I put out that update video, letting you know the changes, if any, because of where Red God is going to fall. So we will pencil it in there. Okay, and then after finishing the Red Rising saga, I will definitely want a break and a change of pace, and I want to start gearing up for fall reading. So I'll be diving into Richard Swann's Empire of the Wolf trilogy, with the first one, The Justice of Kings. This is a grimdark fantasy detective series. It's set in a crumbling empire where justices basically serve as judge, jury, and executioner, and they investigate crimes. Think like a medieval procedural, but with magic and more moral ambiguity. This series is supposed to have a horror tinge to it, and I don't know if the first book has that or if it kind of ramps up throughout the trilogy, and I'm excited to dive in and find out for myself. And that will be great to continue through September. So yeah, September I'll be finishing the Empire of the Wolf trilogy, books 2 and 3, The Tyranny of Faith and The Trials of the Empire. I like to finish series in one push when I can, and September feels like the perfect time to wrap up this horror-infused fantasy series and just kind of push right into October for spooky season. And October is Halloween, baby, one of my favorite holidays. And during that month, I'll be diving into Red Rabbit by Alex Gresham, which is a supernatural Western horror story. It's about a bounty hunter posse that is tracking down a witch through a demon-laden wild, wild west frontier. It seems really, really unique, and I've been wanting to check this one out for a while. And I think there's no better time than October to put that one in. Then I'll be jumping over to another horror fantasy novel with King's Sorrow by Joe Hill. I've heard incredible things about this one, and if I'm being honest, the cover really sold me. Like, what is a dragon doing in a horror novel? It's got my curiosity burning. Both of these novels are supposed to be really super creepy, atmospheric, and just absolutely perfect for spooky season. So I'm blocking those out specifically for October. November brings Christopher Buehlman, The Thrice-Bound Fool, the follow-up to some of my favorite books, The Daughter's War and The Black-Tongue Thief. The Thrice-Bound Fool continues the Black-Tongue Thief story. It releases late October 2026, so I will pencil it in for November. Buehlman writes dark, witty fantasy with morally questionable characters and gorgeous prose. I loved these books. They're such a fresh take in fantasy. Absolutely loved it. But my favorite Buehlman book is his medieval horror Between Two Fires. I devoured this book. I've read this twice now. I absolutely love it. Christopher Buehlman's voice is so fresh in the fantasy space. He has become an auto read author for me, an auto purchase author for me. Then I'm going to be testing the waters on another classic series that I've always wanted to read, and that is Tad Williams' The Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn series, starting with The Dragonbone Chair. This is another 80s epic fantasy. Supposedly this inspired George R.R. Martin's A Game of Thrones. In November and December, I like to get comfy, and I'm hoping this series becomes that sort of comfort read. If I love it, I've got a whole new series to check out. And if I don't, hey, at least I tried. In December, I'll finish out Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn if I liked book 1, The Dragonbone Chair. If not, that's fine. I will finally dive into John Gwyn. So I've got the Bloodsworn Saga on deck. Bloodsworn Saga is Vikings meets magic, and honestly, that's enough to sell me. I love Vikings. I love popcorn fantasy series. It seems like it will be right up my alley. And last but not least, I've got some backups and some wild cards in here, just in case some release date shift or I DNF something. First, I've got Homeland by R.A. Salvatore. This is the Legend of Drizzt book 1. I'm a massive Dungeons & Dragons fan. I've been playing for 10 plus years, and I've never read this series, and I've always wanted to, and I've wanted to know more about Drizzt. So I feel like this would be a great book for me, and I've wanted to explore the Underdark a little bit more and sort of that society of the Drow. So this seems right up my alley. And then I wanted some shorter books that I can quickly shove something in there. And so for that, I've got the Dragon Riders of Pern trilogy. I read this in junior high when I was a kid. I remember really liking it. I also remember it, although there are dragons and dragon riders, I also remember it being a bit more like sci-fi flavored. It's been a long time. I honestly don't remember it that well. So this is going to be a backup series for me. They're pretty short, so I should be able to, they're like 250, maybe 300 pages tops. So I should be able to fit one in if I have to DNF or if something shifts. So looking forward to that if that happens. So there it is, 26 books in 2026. A mix of series catch-ups, some new releases, some classics that I've been putting off for too long, and of course some fresh, wild, interesting backups just in case. This is a TBR I'm actually excited about because it doesn't feel like a death march. This feels manageable. I feel like I can actually achieve this. It feels like a game plan. If you've made it this far, drop a comment and let me know what's the one book you are determined to read in 2026. And if you want more realistic reading advice, book reviews, and TBR planning, hit that subscribe button. Until next time, stay safe and happy reading. Peace. Welcome to Blackthorn Books. I am Dallin R. Oh, I hate my hand doing that. Ooh, jiggle, jiggle, jiggle. Also, I think after attacking, it's giving me the, I'm running out of space with all these books.